podcast with Vanessa and Chris, bringing vendors and tips you don't want to miss. For your Disney trip or your day-to-day, they'll bring that pixie dust your way.
Welcome to the DisLove podcast with Vanessa and Chris. I'm Vanessa Ferguson.
And I'm Chris Johns.
We would like to welcome you to show number 156. And for any listeners joining us for the first time, our show features things we love at Disney. And in each episode, we have a guest who creates Disney magic for our listeners at home or on their Disney vacations. From vacation planners to product producers, our guests can bring Disney magic into your life. And we like to say thank you to all of you for being around for us as we are back after our short break. And as a reminder to our listeners, because it's been a while, make sure to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or any other platform where you listen. That helps new listeners find the show and, of course, helps the show grow. We've had a lot of good listenership over our short break, so we appreciate that. And we love to give shout outs to people who've given us a review of any of the past episodes, and we always appreciate you taking time to do that. Before we get started, Chris, you have a message for us.
I sure do, and it's from our friends, Kevin and Amanda at Where in the Park. If you think you know Disneyland or World, think again, because Kevin and Amanda have put together an awesome product which allows you to create any normal trip, another Disney trip, into a brand new experience. They have a product that allows you to create an immersive experience. It's a scavenger hunt game pack. And what's cool about this is that, number one, you're going to get your steps in. So why not put those steps to good use to finding the next clue? And what's awesome is not only do they have parks in Orlando, but coming soon, including Dollywood and King's Dominion. Use the code DISLOVE10, DISLOVE10, through the link in the show notes to save 10% off your next order. And what's even more awesome, can anything be more awesome, Vanessa?
I think there can be something.
Well, let's add one more awesome to that. We're going to be meeting Kevin and Amanda when Vanessa and I and our family go to Disneyland. And it's going to be wonderful because we're going to see them. Maybe they can do a little scavenger challenge, and we'll put it to the test because I don't know Disney, and it'd be funny if maybe they had...
I don't know Disneyland, so...
Ooh, so you might get us. But again, Where in the Park, Kevin and Amanda.
And we met Kevin in Orlando out at House of Mouse Expo. So we missed Amanda at their booth. So we're excited for that.
And so check the link in the show notes. This commercial is over. On to the show.
And now today, we are really excited to be back with all of you. And we are going to be talking about some of the really cool festivals that happen throughout Walt Disney World. And really... throughout really means one place, but we're going to be talking about that a little bit later. We have talked about this in the past, but I thought it's early in the year. We're in the midst of the first festival. So we're going to look at all of those. They bring a whole level of enchantment to the park. And of course, those festivals are based at I'd say my favorite park. Which park is that, Chris?
Magic Kingdom.
He was just saying that to make me mad. He knows my favorite park is Epcot.
Magic Kingdom.
Well, and then later on today's show, we will be joined by Betty. She has been on our show before. It's been a little over a year since we had Betty on the show. She is a Disney travel expert from Kingdom and Cruise Travel. Not only does she plan your trip, like she handles the logistics, but she really makes it a memorable experience for you and your family. She helps really focus on creating those lifelong memories and looking at all those little details. And she will make sure that your family has a great experience and that you're going to be doing it the best way to fit your needs. And one of the best things is her services are absolutely free. But before we get to our talk with Betty and our chance to revisit with her, we are going to be talking about all of the awesome festivals that take place at Epcot. And right now we are right at the beginning of February. We are still in the midst of Epcot International Festival of the Arts. We were actually there for the first year of the festival. We experienced one of the first days, and I'm sure Chris does not remember this.
I do not.
We were there for my aunt's birthday one time, and in early January, we had a chance to check it out. As the name shows, the festival is all things artistic. It's visual arts, culinary arts, and performing arts. It's in January and February, so if you do get a chance to go earlier in the year, it kicks off right around right after Marathon Weekend. Like we were there around Marathon Weekend and we caught the very beginning of the festival. And it's super cool because they have all kinds of really neat art installations. When we were there, we saw an artist who I think he mostly did the Fab Five, but we got to watch him create a Mickey painting live. Our good friends, Linda and Sheldon, she always posts some really cool pictures of going to the festival. And one of the things I love that they always check out is there's some super cool immersive chalk art. Like you stand in it and it looks like you're in like a Mary Poppins picture.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that's a super cool thing. And one of the things that I think is even more awesome is that you can be a part of that art. One of the things they have is a paint by number mural. And at least when we did it, you got a spot to paint the littlest square. I feel like it was maybe 1 by 1, but it could have been bigger. But throughout the festival, people are able to contribute to this giant piece of artwork. So that's super cool. And one thing that I think our good friend Mike would love is they have Disney on Broadway concert series. So if you know the Epcot festivals, they always feature different types of concerts. And the Festival of the Arts has Broadway artists. And if I looked at the list, I'm sure our friend Mike would know most of the names.
Oh, he definitely would.
So the cool thing is that they have live performances from Broadway stars that sing songs from those Disney productions. So it's super cool. I will say we did not get to see any of the Broadway artists, but we've had some of our friends, including Linda, post some videos of some of the different artists. And that is one thing that is really awesome. They do have some cool, throughout the festival, they'll have food that is like artistic. And I know we got some where it was like a palette and you got to paint your one food. They always usually have a super cool Figment popcorn bucket, which is awesome, usually with colorful popcorn. So it's just a fun way to kick off the year, especially, I mean, I wouldn't say that there's really no slow time of year at Disney anymore, but this is a little bit of a slower time of year and you can experience some new things. So that is the International Festival of the Arts. Then we move into, guess what it starts with? We had International Festival of the Arts. What do you think the second festival starts with?
National Festival of the Arts. Close, but it's International Flower and Garden Festival.
Wow. So of course, the World Showcase.
Let's just say they went to Mars. Wouldn't it have to be intergalactic then after that?
I guess technically it is intergalactic because you have Mission Space and you have some of the rides in Future World. But that is a good point. So you have the Flower and Garden Festival, and this one starts in March, right around our anniversary, which is our anniversary is March 3rd. That's not always the date of the festival, but it does start around our anniversary, and it runs right up until the 4th of July, usually right before the 4th of July. And it, of course, celebrates, there's so many beautiful topiaries. I love to go and look at the topiaries. We got great pictures at our wedding and at our vow renewal. And when we did our 4-park challenge last year, it's super cool to see the topiaries of all the different Disney characters. And then, of course, they have garden displays throughout the park. And one of the nice things is there will be special events about gardening and special speakers and different things like that. So it's super fun to be able to learn a little. I don't have a green thumb. I mean, I don't think I kill things very easily. I mean, we have some plants in our house that have been around since before we got married, but I also wouldn't say that we have a green thumb.
No.
So it is neat, though, to see all of the gardens and some of the displays that they have from different companies. And they have a lot of the outdoor kitchens, and they will feature like fresh things. Like there'll be a Florida citrus one, and there was one all about honey last year. And when we went to one of the after hours events, it was during Flower and Garden. So you got a chance to get food at the different sessions or different booths. So that's really nice. And one of the things that is super cool about this is you had the Broadway concert series in the Festival of the Arts. During this time, you have the Garden Rocks concert series. And all of these are at the American Pavilion, which is, of course, where we got married. So it's always special to go and hear the different musicians. We've heard quite a few during Flower and Garden.
Yes, we have.
I'm trying to think who was the group that we heard last year from the
Smash Mouth.
Yes, that's right. And I did
Richard
see,
Marx.
I did see they are on the schedule for this year as well. And of course, it's fun to be able to go see those different concerts when you're there. And to me, I mean, they have 3 shows in a night. They're usually shorter concerts. All of these typically are. They're about 35, 40 minutes. But if you went to all 3, that's the equivalent of going to a real concert.
Yes.
And it's all included. That I feel like I'm doing an ad, but it's all included in your price of admission.
And it seems like there's really not a bad seat in the house. And even, you're going to wait at Disney no matter what.
Yes.
So why not wait for great music? And it was a great time.
Yeah, so the Garden Rocks concert series is something you definitely want to check out. And then, of course, I think just walking around the World Showcase and seeing all of the beautiful topiaries is well worth it. And that is really one of my favorite times of year to visit. I might be biased because that's when we got married, but springtime, that's like, it's still cold here and it's nice to go to Florida at that
It's
time.
just your personal preference.
Yeah. And we like spring training baseball too.
Sure do.
So after that, you move on so there's a little bit of a break in July and then into really the first little part of August, and then it goes into the International Food and Wine Festival. And that, of course, is one of the more longer running ones. That one, not just in time, just like in overall history. It has been around for a while. Really, if you go back and I've read some of the different Disney history books, this festival started at what was the Disney Marketplace, and then it eventually made its way over to Epcot. But anyways, this festival runs from, I guess it does technically start in July, and it goes till the middle of November. And there is so much great food at this festival. There are global marketplaces with different cuisine and drinks, and it gives you a chance to try all kinds of different stuff. I've made a meal out of all of the different kiosks before. A little tip, I would say, if you have a chance to go during this time, I would avoid the weekends. No offense to any of our local friends, but when we've been down there, the locals really hit Epcot hard during the Food and Wine Festival, and it can get very crowded. And I've been there with friends, and I've been there with our family, and I would avoid the weekend if you can. Like that Saturday can get very hectic. Also, some people, I mean, if it's your thing, that's fine. But I've also been there on the weekends during Food and Wine, and people get really into the drinking around the world. And especially if you have kids, or even if you're just a non-drinker and you don't really want to be around people.
Say no.
Yeah, you may want to avoid Saturdays during this festival. People have a good time, though. I'm not saying don't have a good time. I'm not saying don't have a good time. I'm just saying if that's not your thing, you may want to avoid Saturdays. And it just gets busy in general because there's so much great food and drinks to try. They also have a lot of good cooking demonstrations, and they have everything from like mixology events. We went to a special event one year where there was a cooking demonstration by a chef from one of the TV shows. I don't even remember, but it was good. It was fun, and they did the cooking. And overall, it's just a super awesome event. I love walking around and trying all of the foods. As I've mentioned, on many occasions have I made dinner out of all of the different kiosks. So it's well worth it. And surprise, surprise, Chris, what do they have during this festival too?
They have a concert series.
Yes, they do. It's called Eat to the Beat Concert Series. And there's all kinds of great musical acts during this time. I would say the Flower and Garden and the Eat to the Beat Concert Series, a lot of the artists kind of mirror each other. It's not the same exact artist, but they're very similar. And so you can go check out those concerts as well. So you can make a meal out of all the kiosks and then go listen to a concert, which is really great. And again, they bring in really cool chefs and different things so you can really enjoy some other aspects. And I think this just goes back into what Chris mentions a lot, is it's more than just rides. And for people who go back, there's always a new experience there.
Sure is.
Now, the last festival that takes place at Epcot, and that is the International Festival of the Holidays. And this one runs from the end of November, so right around Thanksgiving, through December, the end of December. And this is holiday traditions from around the world. And one of the things that I think is fun in the last few times we've been there at the holidays, we've been there for an event or something. Like we were there for our friend Shane and Charlie's vow renewal. So we didn't have as much time just like at the parks. But if you have some time to spend at the park, they have holiday storytellers from at each of the countries. And it's super cool because whatever version of Santa or whatever other like mystical kind of character they have, you can go around and they'll tell the story of what those legends are in those respective countries, and they're in their whole costume. And I've gotten some cool pictures. I'll have to dig some of those out as we're promoting this episode. And there is holiday kitchens around the World Showcase. There's not as many as there are, of course, at Food and Wine, or I think even at Flower and Garden, but there's lots of great seasonal dishes, and they showcase ones from different cultures, which is even more awesome. And another thing that's fun that you can do that's food related is the cookie stroll. And they have where you can go around and get stamps when you try the different cookies. And there's a lot of cookies. Usually people end up taking a lot home, but I've tried some of the, because you buy some of the different cookies as you go around the World Showcase. I don't know that you could finish them all. But if you do complete the stroll, you get a special treat at the end because you've already had cookies. You definitely need another treat, right? But that is something fun to do, the cookie stroll, and kids get a real kick out of that. Last but not least, but I think one of the best productions at Disney is the Candlelight Processional. What would you say? Would you agree? Would you agree with that? So they have a celebrity narrator, a full orchestra, and then they have a choir that tells the Christmas story. It really is a super moving experience. I've seen it several times. Last time holds a special place in my heart. Who did we see who was our narrator?
Oh, John Stamos.
Yes. So one of the great things with this, and really with any of the concert series, you can do dining packages. We've done it for some shows and some we haven't. When we saw John Stamos, we did. We ran through the rain to get back there for our show, but it was well worth it. It's just a super cool production. Our daughter loved it. We love it. I was very disappointed when we went this year for our staycation at the end of December. Jody Benson was the speaker and we weren't going in, or was the narrator, and we weren't going into the parks. I'm very bummed that I didn't see her. But as you can tell, they have really awesome people that come in as those narrators. So that rounds out the festivals at Epcot.
That's a lot of rounding.
Yes. So they have 4 major festivals. There are also smaller things that take place at Disney Springs. I even saw, like, our daughter is Indian. They have Diwali things that they do at Disney Springs. They have things for Chinese New Year at some of the parks. There's other things that take place, but these are kind of those major festivals. And obviously you have Christmas things taking place at other parks. There's things that take place during the springtime at other parks, but these are those mainstay festivals that are going to be exciting. I think this is what makes it nice to go to Epcot and enjoy some of those things. In particular with adults, you can enjoy it a little bit differently than you do with kids. I always like to check out the concert schedules because they will change every couple of days. So you want to make sure if you're there for a week and there's 2 different concerts that you get to see the one that you like best, or hop over. I know there's been years where we've seen several during a trip. So that's super cool. And all of the different food, I mean, we all talk about food a lot, and being able to try all the different food makes it well worth it. And then, of course, there's always something new to discover when you go. Now, we are speaking of discovering things new and going on trips. We're getting ready. We're going to get up our call from our friend Betty at Kingdom and Cruise Travel, and she would show you how to make the best out of your trip and how you could enjoy those things at Epcot.
And I think on that note, to make the best out of your trip is to plan right.
Yes.
And I think most people don't do the best job at planning. Let an expert help you get the most out of your Disney trip.
For sure. And before we get on to our call with Betty, Chris, you have a message from some of our friends?
Yes, Eric and Alexa at Baby Quip. If you have a baby, and that means even if you have a toddler or a young one who just doesn't like to walk in the park, let them help you out. They have top-of-the-line baby equipment ranging from bassinets to strollers. We used one for Karis our last several trips. It makes life so much easier. Not only is Karis a lot quicker to get around the park, there's also space to store your stuff. They offer a couple of awesome things. Number one, they're Disney fans. Number two, their service is awesome. Every time we've had a drop-off or a pickup, it's been number one on time, which I like, and they've been friendly, which I like even better. And so with that, Baby Quip, check the show notes. Eric and Alexa, they'll take care of you.
And a nice thing that we discovered, because we are going to Disneyland, we were able to make a reservation with Baby Quip for Disneyland. So that link that we provide to you, you can look at Eric and Alexa in Orlando. And then we have some friends out in California that have Baby Quip out there as well. And we are hopefully going to be talking to her soon after our trip to Disneyland. So really looking forward to that. So let's go ahead and get our call up with Betty, and you can hear all about all the awesome services she can provide to you to make your next Disney trip so much fun. We would like to welcome Betty to the show. Her business, Kingdom and Cruise Travel, is really a great way for you to plan your next Disney vacation, whether it be going to Disney World, Disneyland, Disney Cruise Line, and lots of other destinations, which she'll be able to tell you about. We had Betty on the show just over a year ago, so we're excited to have her back on. She has been a travel advisor for over 6 years. She lives in Southwest Virginia, and she's a former New Yorker, and a lot of our different guests are from that area as well. She has 2 grown children, and she's a grandma to 1 little girl, and she loves planning family vacations, group couples vacations, and then of course vacations for your group as well. So we'd like to welcome Betty back to the show.
Hi, Vanessa and Chris. How are you?
Great. It's so nice to have you back.
Thank you.
So nice to be back. Thank you so much for having me again. I had fun with you all last year.
Well, hopefully you can fill in our audience about all of the new things happening with Disney Travel. And of course, to get started, we love to know a little bit about what you love at the parks. So we've been asking people, what is your favorite show at any Disney park?
Well, as we all know, there are so many shows to choose from.
Yes.
I would say my favorite really fun family show is the Frozen Sing-Along at Hollywood Studios. I used to think that show was just for little children. And then one of my travel agent friends and I were there one day, and she said, "Come on, we have to go see the show. It's so funny." And it's a real crowd pleaser. It's so fun for the whole family, adults, children, everybody.
Yes, that's for sure. It is definitely one that's fun when you have a group of people with all wide age ranges, because I know our daughter loves it and we love it too. All those little humorous things that they have added definitely makes a great show for everybody.
I totally agree. I'm so glad I didn't keep skipping that. And I always make sure to add that to my itineraries for my guests, because I think it's one that people will tend to skip because they're just like, Elsa and Anna's out maybe by the time they get there.
Yes.
But I really think it's something that you should definitely not miss.
Now you've told us a little bit about what you enjoy doing at the parks. Now we'd love to hear about your business and the services you offer connected to Disney.
Okay, so as we know, anybody can book travel. You can go on Expedia or Costco and book your travel there. But when you use a travel planner like myself, we curate your memorable vacations. So what I do for my clients is I give them white glove service from beginning to end, from the time we start with the proposal till the time they arrive at their resort and beyond. I'm there for them the whole time. I help with the planning. I advise them how to use all the ever-changing, what's the word I'm looking for? The ever-changing...
All the different tools and technology that Disney has.
Right. My Disney experience. Then now, what are we on? Multipass Lightning Lane. It was Genie Plus last year. So Disney is always constantly evolving. And I have people come to me that say, I need a degree in Disney just to get into the park. So basically, I'm your guide through that whole process.
Well, and Betty, I really think you really hit on a main point there, because Vanessa is my Disney planner for our family, and there's just so many changes. And I can only imagine. And when I hear about families that said, Disney's so expensive, and they kind of come back from Florida with a little puss in their face, when you kind of delve into it, they didn't plan right. And Disney is so complex. It's more than just buying a ticket. And I think that's where, the services that you offer and your knowledge just makes it invaluable, because when you make an investment in a vacation like Disney, get the most out of it by using all the things that you know.
Well, right, Chris. How many times have you seen that little child having a meltdown in the middle of Main Street? And it just breaks your heart, because mom and dad have spent a good amount of money on this vacation. So with a travel planner, you are going to have some tools. I always give my clients all the baby changing locations in Magic Kingdom, or all throughout the 4 parks. So if you need a moment to get through that meltdown, you can run to one of the baby care centers that you might not even know existed, or how to mobile order your food so that you're not standing in line. You're making good use of all your time in the parks. And those are the values that using a travel advisor like myself that I bring to the table.
Now, you mentioned all the things that you offer. What was your inspiration to start doing this for families interested in Disney?
So I went to Disney World with my family in 1999 for our first trip. And we just thought we could fly into the park, buy tickets, and have a great time. And we had a nice time, and we have a lot of fun memories, but we also have a lot of stories of oops, we should have done this, we should have done that. And so I've always had a love for travel. I was the little girl who would write away for brochures from travel companies, things like that as a child. So my love for travel is deep rooted, and this just seemed like a natural transition when I moved from New York to Virginia to start this business. And I have a passion for it, and I love it. And I just love to be a part of people's happy memories.
Now, we already touched on this some, but I think you could definitely give some more details, because if I'm a new person planning a trip, or maybe I'm somebody who has planned one of those trips that you mentioned that didn't go the best, how do you think your service can add some Disney magic to your customers' lives? And what are some of those specific things that you do along the way?
So there are so many features to a Disney vacation, magical extras that people don't know exist. Everyone knows the basics, like Bippity Boppity Boutique or the fireworks dessert party, but they might not know that they can go do archery or paint ceramics, or if you're a couple on vacation, go to a sangria making class. So I help navigate all these extra fun things that clients can learn about or do while they're on vacation. It doesn't have to be all parks all day.
Now, if you could just let our audience know, what are some of those different things that you help with along the planning process for somebody who's just planning a trip, or maybe who's somebody who's planned a trip before but doesn't realize all these different things that go into it?
Okay, so one of the major things that I do for my clients is book their dining or their Bippity Boppity Boutique, or things along those lines. So when your dining window opens at 60 days out, it opens at 6 a.m. in the morning. So I get up at 6 a.m. Well, I get up at 5:30, and I get ready to make their dining reservations for them. And if it's Bippity Boppity Boutique, they need a reservation for. That actually opens at midnight on 60 days before their trip. So I get up at midnight and book their Bippity Boppity Boutique so that they can get their little princesses and princes all dolled up for their dining reservations. I track discounts for my clients. So if you have booked a trip with me in, say, January, and you're not traveling until September, and Disney releases a promotion, say for free dining or a room discount, I will check your reservation to make sure that you're eligible for that discount. If it is, I will apply it. And then you'll get a nice email from me before you even get out of bed that says, hey, I saved you $1,000 on your Disney vacation. And then one thing that's a real standout for me is I make a formal itinerary for my clients with tips, tricks, times for their reservations, day by day, website itinerary that they can take with them on their smartphone, well as, on a laptop or something like that. And that's curated by me for my clients. So it's very personalized to their likes, their wants, their needs, and everything that we've discussed in all the months of our planning. So I think that brings a lot of value to just, going online and booking yourself.
Now, that is really awesome. Now, I know we briefly mentioned at the beginning, but do you just do Disney World vacations or do you do any other trips as well?
Oh, no, I book trips to all destinations. So I have a full catalog of suppliers that I book destinations with: Universal, SeaWorld, European travel, all-inclusive travel. Sandals and Beaches are two of my big sellers. And then you have your big Disney vacations like Disney Cruise Line, Adventures by Disney, which if you are ever interested in group travel, Adventures by Disney is the perfect entryway for your family. Say if you want to bring them to Europe or like that, they're wonderfully curated VIP group vacations. I can't speak highly enough about those vacations. They're wonderful. And then, of course, Nolani in Hawaii. So, yes, I book many different types of vacations.
That's awesome. Now, you mentioned about people booking. Where can folks go to find out how to use your services?
Okay, well, you can find me on Facebook at Kingdom and Cruise Betty Harrell. I also have a group page, which is fun. We play some games on there. Sometimes I'll do trivia nights and things like that. And you can find that on Facebook, and it's from Bucket List to Booked with Betty. I'm also on Instagram at Betty Plans Vacations and on TikTok at Betty Plans Vacation.
Now, I will make sure to put all of the links to your different socials in the show notes because I know I've been in your group and seen some of the fun, great tips that you've posted as well. So thank you so much, Betty, for joining us again.
Thank you so much. I had so much fun again. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Thank you again to Betty for being with us today. Do yourself a favor, call Betty, get your trip planned the right way.
And now we are on to our 2-minute trivia and our Wisdom from Walt quote. And Chris, you are up with trivia.
We talked a lot about food and wine.
Yes.
I like the food, not the wine. This is a pretty good trivia question. True or false, the festival is the longest running festival in the world?
I'm going to go with false.
I'll give you one more try.
I guess it's true then.
It is. According to the internet, being close to 62 days, it's one of the longest festivals in the world.
I thought you meant like long, like how many years they have been going, not length of time per year. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, I'm
sorry.
That's okay. That does make sense though. Wow, 62 days? That's a long time.
Sure is.
Wow, very interesting.
So you know what? Let's this drink around the world. Get rid of that. Drink every day, or eat every day of the festival.
Yes, 62 days. That would be a long time.
That's a challenge.
I don't know if anybody would take us up on that challenge for sure. Now, of course, we were talking about all of these different festivals and a lot of like the international flair that goes into them. So I thought this was a good quote because it talks about heritage and kids and all that sort of thing. The way to get started is to quit talking and begin doing. Our heritage and ideals, our code and standards, the things we live by and teach our children are preserved and diminished by how freely we exchange ideas and feelings. So go out, check out all of these different festivals, get some new ideas for yourself, and really have an amazing trip that's planned by Betty.
Yes, Vanessa, great show.
So don't forget to check out all of our other episodes on our Buzzsprout page, and of course, follow us on social media for even more Disney magic. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Vanessa.
And I'm Chris. This podcast is not affiliated with the Walt Disney Company or its holdings, and it is intended for entertainment purposes only.